Hey guys, and welcome to episode 25 of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast. I'm your host Chris Lawless, and with me, as always, is the living legend Larry Cox. Larry, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Chris?
Doing good, doing good. Tonight we've got a couple of our group moderators joining us. For the first time, we've got Dustin Duffy. How you doing tonight, Dustin?
Doing good, man. Couldn't be better.
It's good, it's good. And we've also got returning back. We haven't had him on in a while, but we got Mr. Zach Jen. How you doing tonight?
Good, I'm good.
Awesome. So we are playing some excellent ball as of late. I mean, the Cardinals winning 12 straight. That's something I don't think any of us could have planned on. You know, we sweep the series with the Brewers. We sweep the Padres. You know, it's sweep the Mets. We've been taking care of business lately. So just on this hot run that the Cardinals have been on lately, we'll just jump right into it. You guys' overall thoughts, obviously we're all, excited about this, but we've got some breathing room here where, it wasn't long ago and we had like a 2% chance, from Fangraphs saying that we're going to make the playoffs. Now it seems like we're a lock. So, it's exciting stuff. What are you guys' thoughts? I'll start with you, Larry.
Well, I mean, they had no choice really. If you're going to get back in, you got to win them all. It's better baseball. It's good to get hot coming down the end. That's the best thing about it. I mean, they really picked the right time to get hot. Mozeliak looks like a genius now, picking up Lester, doesn't he?
Yeah, he caught some flack for that, but yeah, I mean, him and Happ really have solidified the rotation when we really needed some innings. And even guys like the dumpster diving of getting a McFarland and a Garcia, those guys have been solid, and fans were not too excited when we made those moves. But, nonetheless, it's key guys like that that's taking this team to the next level, along with the main everyday players. So we'll go to you, Dustin. What are your thoughts on seeing this hot streak, and can the Cardinals keep it up?
Man, I just see this team, especially 2 through 4, like lights out. All this 12-game stretch, Mo picking up Jay Happ and Lester. I mean, it's just been lights out. Don't change a thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. I mean, fans weren't too excited when we brought them in, thinking, well, we've got the AARP lineup basically, with Wainwright. And at the time, we had LeBlanc too in the rotation, so everybody was pushing 40. But it's panning out right now, and I mean, there's no complaints on this end. What say you, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I always say two things. Come May and September, for whatever reason, we play our best ball in those 2 months. I mean, if you look the last 10 years, it's the middle of the summer gets lost in translation somewhere because for some reason we always seem to hit a downward skid. But man, those 2 months we just kill it, and hopefully we can keep the momentum going. And the funny thing about it is, you guys hit on it. Mo and Schilt, everybody wanted them gone, and wouldn't it be something? I doubt it'll happen, but God, it'd be something. Fans would lose it if they just got manager and GM of the year, executive of the year. Fans would they would know what to do with themselves.
No, and I mean, I get it that our fan base, we've got, obviously a ton of people in our Facebook group, and there are some armchair general managers, and we do it too. I'll be the first to admit, there's times where I call out certain players or coaches where I think, stuff ain't going right. You got to point the finger at somebody. But overall, I mean, like Larry has preached more than I have, that Mozeliak knows what he's doing, and I'm not crazy with some of the stand and pat moves that I think the Cardinals maybe should go above and beyond at some point. But he plays it smart. He picks up guys on reasonable deals, and they contribute in ways that aren't really the everyday fan, might not see the strengths that these guys can bring in, but they're getting it done. And, I'll just kind of go over this last series with the Brewers. I mean, we knew coming in that we had a little bit of breathing room, but this Brewer series really was like a test, a true test of we've been getting it hammered to us all season, and, we go in and take care of business. So just this series alone, what do you think that means momentum-wise? We're going to run out of steam eventually on the winning streak, but this was big. What say you on that, Larry?
Well, like most of you guys know, Saturday I was at the game against Padres. You could see when they were down, they didn't give up. And I think that carried over that momentum from beating that team that, everybody said they couldn't beat the Padres from the very beginning. They got $700+ million just in their infield. And that's in 3 players. And then for them to carry that momentum after coming from behind to win, you could just see that, happy flight going into Milwaukee. And then the swagger, I mean, it's there, man. I don't care what anybody says. After today's game, Goldschmidt just launched it, and he just, I kept thinking, this is it. It's over. And Goldie said, not today, boys.
Yeah, it's crazy to think too. And I put this out, on the Facebook page and in the group, and it isn't to take away from the kind gesture that he did, but basically Yelich had got 10,000 tickets for fans to attend the Cardinals versus Brewers game. And, just as kind of a little bit of humor I put on there, how about that? He goes out and spends money on 10,000 tickets for fans to watch us sweep their ass. How funny is that? Dustin, what do you think about that?
Or we'll kick over to Zach.
Yeah, we'll kick over to Zach on this. What do you think of that? I know it's kind of, taking a jab at Yelich, but, I just thought it was kind of funny. He busts the bill on 10,000 tickets and they get a front row seat basically to a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
I don't think anybody was really anticipating that. I mean, I thought, we always play them close. Maybe we split a series or, we've been losing close ones, but I don't think anybody really knew that was going to happen, or could have even said it even after the win streak we'd been on coming in. And I just think today too, I had made a mention in our group that, if we can come back from this 0-5 deficit, that's going to really be the telltale of if we can do it or not for the rest of the season, if we're actually in this thing or if we're just, riding high on some steam. And I think that proves to, we're healthy at the right time. And you know what, like I said, it was a cool gesture, but I think it just kind of gave us more firepower, more ambition to go in there and kick some butt.
Yeah, and I was feeling bad for Wainwright, as I'm sure you guys were, to start the game off like that. I think he was pressing too hard to get that 2,000th strikeout. For the team to battle back and get the win, obviously he didn't get the win, but the team did. I think that, really picked up Wainwright, and to see him, I know Larry just attended a game where, Wainwright was likely to get his 2,000th strikeout, and Larry really wanted to witness that. But just the fact that he's able to do it, and earlier in the week having Lester pick up, his 200th win, we're seeing some great things where I think individually these guys are getting a lot out of what's happening. I mean, Arenado with his goal of hitting 30 home runs and 100 RBIs, I think each player is getting something that impacts them, and it's more than just winning at this point. What do you think, Larry?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, these guys all set goals at the beginning of the season. They all have contract clauses and everything else. But personal goals aside, I mean, they're all hitting stride, and that's the biggest thing is it's all about the team. I definitely wanted to see Waino get the 4 strikeouts on Saturday. 2,000, that was huge. But it looked like to me a lot of times he had guys in an 0-2 count, and instead of just like throwing one away or wasting a pitch, he was going after hitters and they would hit it, and that was the sad part about it. I kept thinking this is the one. And then today I think going in he's focused on that, just trying to get that 1 strikeout and get it over with. I think it did become a distraction to him this morning or today's game, but I think, again, we've seen it in the past. I think these guys, they look out for Waino. He's the guy. He's the hombre. They pick him up again. I mean, he didn't take the loss. And so that meant a lot, too. I mean, that's going to be a huge swing as well moving forward because, you look at it and you say, we were down 5-0. For them to come back, climb all the way back in, and Waino is off the hook completely, that's huge for them. So, now he knows they have his back and he has theirs. So,
well, this team, they're playing good ball on all fronts. The offense is coming around when they need to, and defensively, I read earlier there's like 7 or 8 of our guys that are in top 3 in the league, and defensive runs saved, and so you got a potential of a lot of Gold Glovers here. I know we talk sometimes with the feast or famine offense, but defensively, this team is about as sound defensively as we've seen in a long time. Dustin, what's your takeaway on the players that we've got playing solid defense and the importance of that is, what's got this team really clicking on all cylinders.
Oh man, their defense is just outrageous. I mean, Arenado, last night grabbing that ball and then not even trying to stop himself before hitting that tarp, going all out for it. I mean, that's what it's all about, man. That's what Cardinals defense has always been about. I remember going to the games watching Ozzie Smith. Man, Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, all them guys. I mean, it's all out all the time.
Yeah, it's a hustling attitude that the Cardinals have, but I mean, these guys, whether it's the young guys like Carlson, plays good defense. Bader and O'Neill, I think, have really came into their own where, offensively they're putting it together, but with O'Neill having a Gold Glove last season, and Bader is pretty well as elite as it gets out there. I think that makes the pitcher's job a lot more comfortable knowing they have a defense behind them and they can throw the ball over the plate and, at least have some confidence that you've got Gold Glovers on the corners, one behind the plate, and 2 to 3 of them in the outfield. I mean, really, there's not much more you can ask for from a pitching standpoint. Zach, I know you're big on the team defense, but they've been doing well just running the bases, opportunity. They're making the most of the opportunities that they're given. What say you on that?
Yeah, I mean, I had said the other day, you guys all know I'm a big Tommy Edman fan, and he's got, 27 stolen bases, and I feel like he's done that rather quietly. I mean, I don't know the last time that a Cardinal had 30 stolen bases. I mean, it's been 9 years since a Cardinal had 100 RBI, so it's probably double that, if not longer, since they had 30 stolen bases. And I'm probably wrong on that stat, but I mean, that in and of itself, I just feel like if we keep doing that, I mean, you guys got O'Neill, he could be a 30 stolen base guy. Pham, obviously not going to be a 30 stolen base guy for the Cardinal. Bader could be a 30 stolen base guy for the Cardinals, and then even in the minors, Carlson was swiping bags left and right. And so I know that's a different level, but he's got the ability that he could, be maybe not 30, but, in that 20 range. And so, I mean, you look at that, you get those guys on and you can move them around. That's just scary.
The thing that really impressed me watching the game today, of course, it was on YouTube, is listening to announcers talk about, old school baseball being played in St. Louis. And for all season long, all we did was complain, the bitching, the complaining, let's get back to old school baseball. Today, I mean, we were swiping bases, moving the runners, sacrificing, and that's old school baseball, man. And Edman, I mean, I'm sitting there going, Wong who right now. I'm sorry, but.
I mean, I said it earlier this year. I think, a lot of people don't realize it, but fielding wise, Edman's number 3 in the NL. And actually the 2 that are in front of him have played less games than he has. He's on trajectory to play 100 more games than he played last year. He's, got a 989 fielding percentage. So, I mean, I think you stick that guy there, he stays there. I know we've got some other maybe bigger prospects behind him, but I think he's going to be a guy that's in St. Louis for a long time to come. And I think he could be a Golden Glove guy too.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed too, and we've talked about it in our group chat. I've seen some people post in the group about it. It was a couple weeks ago when Colton Wong had come out with that report basically of his time in St. Louis and basically feeling like he couldn't reach his full potential because the strategy and all that with Jeff Albert's system, he was kind of taking pitches that he would normally just hack away at. And some people have suggested maybe our players have read that and took something from it and is kind of like, maybe he's right. Let's just go out there, see the ball, hit the ball, do our own thing. I'm not saying that is what's happening, but it is kind of ironic that just a couple weeks ago when that report come out is when all this kind of turned around. So what say you guys on that? I mean, there's got to be a little bit to it that guys are, I'm not saying giving up on Albert, but basically saying, hey, I'm going to do shit my way.
I think they, those guys are still swinging the way they've always swung the bat. I don't think you tell Nolan Arenado, hey, just don't swing at this because this is Jeff Albert's system. I don't think it works that way. I mean, I've always said that. And I think Colton Wong is full of crap. And I don't care. I mean, the guy swung for the fences when there was nobody on base thinking he had to win the game with nobody on every time. I mean, I'm just Colton. I loved his defense. I loved his abilities, but it's just enough. Let it go, dude. You're on another team. Move on. nobody hampered anything from Colton Wong. He became a better player because of the system. So, and I mean, he's not been on the field this much this year anyway. So, and his team got swept. So take that.
Tell us how you feel, Larry. But Dustin, what do you think? Do you think there's any kind of reasoning that might be? And it might not necessarily be the Wong comment, but maybe the players did, just kind of look at it like, hey, we've got to get on the same page here, and we're going to go up there and just take our hacks and see what happens. Your best baseball sometimes is just a natural thing, not just analytics.
Well, I mean, it's obviously the wrong thing for Wong to say because look what this team's doing now. But I mean, these guys are major league players. So, I mean, it's not like they're playing T-ball and they got to have the hitting coach to tell them how to hit a damn ball. I mean, what are you really doing to help these guys hit? I mean, they train all year round, even in the off-season, to hit baseballs. And, I mean, I just look at it like that.
Yeah, I mean, when we've talked to that, each of these guys have their individual hitting coach and work with them all season long and in the off season. But I just think the timing of it was kind of worth bringing up because we like to think we know sometimes more than what we do. We stir the pot a little bit as Larry's over there doing. But what do you think about that?
Sorry, did you say me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
The other Zach on the show tonight.
Sorry, it cut out on me. No, I mean, I think when I look at it is, and I know I've said this before, but you can't convince me that Albert didn't know what was going on in Houston, and they were all about working counts and things like that. Well, when you know what pitch is coming, you can work pretty much any count. And I don't know what Houston's approach is now, or I don't look at their numbers to see if they're still doing it the same way. But one thing I've noticed over the last 3 weeks is we have guys that are, especially Molina, who they're going after that first pitch a lot. I've noticed we're not really working counts as much. It seems like they're either jumping on that first pitch and they're moving guys around, or they are working them super deep. So there's like no in between. And so for that, I think the teams knew the best pitch, they could pitch be the first one, and then we'd be looking for other stuff. And I think we've just gotten a lot more aggressive in that way. And I know that's what Alberts is all about. And maybe it's not so much him that we read into, but I think that's been a big thing, kind of our MO. And I feel like pitchers have kind of salivated at that over the last couple of years. Like, all right, they're not going to swing at this. Let me just throw it straight down the middle and see if they just sit there on it.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that because, I think that's a lot of what happened with Matt Carpenter was he got so comfortable with taking so many pitches that eventually, it's to the point now where I don't even think you should take a bat up with him, because he doesn't use it, or when he does, it's like refusing to hit into the shift. It's, there's so much to take away from that. But, switching gears to something else, I know that the Cardinals obviously have had something to play for. And when you play meaningful games, I think that's what really brings the best out in you. And when you're playing teams that obviously you want to beat guys like the Pirates, and the Tigers that we've slumped, against this year. But when you're playing teams like the Brewers and you had to win against the Padres and you take 2 or 3 from Cincinnati, I think you play up to par with your opponent, where the games mean more. But with the last series where we had our 2011 team, getting celebrated, I think that kind of rejuvenated a little bit of life in the middle of a win streak. It really boosted this team of, look at these guys, and everything wasn't all rosy on how they got there. The timing of everything just couldn't have been more perfect. I think it was a perfect storm of, giving guys another reason to step their game up. What do you think about that, Larry?
The 2011 celebration Saturday night was probably one of the best moments that outside of an opening day that I've been a part of. And the other thing is even like Skip Schumacher coming over to our dugout and hugging and high-fiving players that, then you stand back and you look and there's 3 players still on this team from 2011. That right there says a lot about this franchise. Unfortunately, one of them is Matt Carpenter. But it sparked the team. You could see it. I mean, they were proud to be there and proud to have that uniform on. I think that, we get into these lulls and you start winning and then you don't want to lose. So what happens when you do lose? Then does it spark a downslide, or does it, hey, wait, we got to get back right on this horse? But I think that's exactly the timing of that 2011 celebration, coinciding with the Padres being in town. I think that was the right time for it, because a lot of times those things are always celebrated like at the very beginning of the season. So I think this was a great timing for it, knowing these two series were both coming. And then, like I said, it get all those players. You could see the pride in that. And even like you've seen Sosa, he's always like pointing at the, and that's the thing. You can see the pride in these guys now. That's why I take Colton Wong's, what he said, worth, a grain of salt, because, most people they're proud to be here. That's the good thing now. You muted yourself, Chris.
I don't think that Wong's comments was basically, him taking much slight at the team, because I think Wong was as proud as anybody to be a Cardinal. And leaving the team, you could tell that it pained him, and he was a good Cardinal. I agree with you that he was swinging, to try to hit a 5-run home run with nobody on base early in his career. But I think he was coming into his own a little bit. And maybe he did change his philosophy up to he's not going to take as many pitches. But just seeing, like you said, seeing the guys in town, and you get that lift when you see a David Freese and a Chris Carpenter and Matt Holliday. I think everybody could kind of, go to those guys and, pick their brain a little bit and get a little pumped up, before the game. I just think it really did boost this team. Not that they needed it, but it sure didn't hurt. What say you on that, Duffy? I mean, it was pretty cool to see so many former Cardinals, world champions, take the field.
Yeah, I actually watched it on YouTube a couple days ago, and man, I see a lot of similarities too between the 2011 and this year's team. I mean, it's not Pujols, but you got Goldschmidt. It's not Freese, you got Arenado. I mean, you got Wayno that could step into Carpenter's spot. I mean, I'm telling you, that crazier things have happened to where, this team looks a lot like 2011, and man, I'd give anything to just see it one more time. One more time, baby.
And I think it could happen too. And I think anybody, we've all had some faith. We didn't lose the faith as the season went. We got a little down when looking at the standings and seeing Milwaukee kind of run away with the division kind of sucks. But you always kind of felt like this team at least had a fighting chance to still be in the thick of things. And, I think back even at the All-Star game when Arenado had whispered into Greg Amsinger's ear that, hey, we're going to make the wild card, and that was back in the All-Star game when we were pretty well, just kind of wheels falling off at that point. But yeah, it's fun to see them win. And again, not to just be a dead horse, but to see those legends come back that maybe all of them weren't a household name outside of Cardinals Nation, but you're seeing the Nick Puntos and the, Larry's favorite, John Jay, yeah, I know we'll bring him back next season.
Wait a minute, he's diving for a ball somewhere right now.
But it was cool to see. And, just the ones that, everybody come back for it. There was guys that I'm like, hell, they were on the team. I barely even remember. But, they should have. That's a proud moment. What are some of the guys that made that appearance that won that championship team, Zach, that you saw and was like, damn, they don't quite look the same. For me, it's like Mitchell Boggs. I was kind of like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? But
he looked like you.
Well, Jason Mott's got the beard that looks like me.
Yeah, not Boggs. It was Mott.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of them that look really different to me. And honestly, I'm so bad with faces to names. I was obviously able to, remember Freeze and Descalso and those guys that were kind of like mainstays, but really just looking at them, I was sitting there with my wife and I'm just like, I couldn't tell you who any of those guys are for a select group of them. And then I saw Berkman sitting there. I'm like, well, at least I can tell who it is. I don't feel like I'm such a bad fan now. And she was like, you watch every game of the season. How do you not remember who these people are? It's like it's ingrained in you. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? People get older. I was like, I'm sure I look a heck of a lot different than I did 10 years ago. Thank God. But yeah, no, there was just a lot of them where I just was like, yep, I couldn't tell you who they are.
Well, Chris keeps forgetting to unmute himself.
Okay. My bad. Shane Robinson was another for me that, seeing him and I'm like, I remember him, but just kind of looking at him is like, just stature wise doesn't stand out. But then when you see the name on the back, you're like, all these guys contributed to a point for that season to work out the way it did. Edwin Jackson, and it's cool to see. But
Gronkowski, Talent, Cruz, they all had their part. I mean, every one of those guys at some point during the season were a hero of some kind. But David Freese and Berkman are the only two you're going to remember.
More or less. I mean, yeah, they were the ones getting most of the fanfare for sure. But we could kind of flip the script and look at this team on there's been some guys kind of in and out with this team that has helped. And recently one just got DFA'd that cleared waivers, and the Cardinals let go, give him his unconditional release today, and that's Daniel Ponce de Leon. I know he was a feel-good story after the line drive to the head. We were all pulling for him. I feel bad for the guy that he never got his footing. He was given every opportunity, but as far as guys stepping into the role, he wasn't benefiting this team to carry him. And what are your thoughts on Daniel Ponce de Leon and his time with the Cardinals and the decision to totally cut the ties with him?
Well,
Who'd you say?
There you go. When he came back and made his debut and he won hit that game, that was amazing. Seeing his family there and everything, thinking this kid would never play ball again, and I really thought he'd overcome a lot of that stuff. But I think we all know what happened. I mean, we watched it, him shaking off Yachty repeatedly, and then the argument in the dugout. We knew that was kind of the end of the beginning of the end for him. Again, we also got to remember. You got Hudson that's talking about maybe coming back this next week. You got Flaherty coming back tomorrow. So there's got to be room somewhere for these guys to come anyway. So there is that. Plus, you're going to have to move some guys around again anyway. So then you got to make up the roster for the wild card game. Duffy, because Chris is cutting himself out.
I mean, man, it's either put out or swim, man. I mean, you got to be able to pitch in the big leagues. I mean, you can't, just like Larry said, I mean, they're going to have to make a roster for this wild card game. I mean, you think Miller's going to be on the team? I doubt it. You Ponce wouldn't have made it. I mean, why keep the guy if he can't even, I mean, you got to put out, especially right now. I mean, it's got to be your guys that are like Luis Garcia, man. That guy, they better re-sign him right now.
Yeah, I think for sure that Andrew Miller is somebody that you're only going to pitch in games that you're up 5 or 6 runs, and that's not somebody I'd like to see the Cardinals continue to carry. But contract-wise, I think they make the mistake and stick with him. But, Zach, I'm sure you saw the rift between Yachty and Ponce, and I think that was I don't think that was something that just happened. I think that over a course of his last few outings, there had to be some sort of friction going on because I know that tempers flare high. Obviously, we've seen that with Machado and Tatis, when we played the Padres, where they go at it. But I think some of that is like the brotherly love. Hey, get your shit together. We got to take things serious. But when you see like Oliver Marmol and Stubby Clapp jumping in the middle of Yachty and Ponce, I think there was more to it than, hey, you're just shaking me off, or, hey, we got to take this shit serious. There had to have been some words said that Yachty isn't one you want to mouth, and that was, I think he sealed his one-way ticket out of town.
Yeah, and, part of me kind of has to wonder, too, with some of these younger guys, I mean, you look at the whole season, it's a blessing that we picked up some of these pitchers at the deadline and we made some of these moves because really we were trying to hamstring together a bullpen that was probably a minor league bullpen for the most part, where guys were just too washed up to make it through a full season relieving without getting injuries. And I just kind of wonder, obviously I would take Yachty any day of the week, but catching with Kisner, coming up with Kisner, I think there's a different mindset. I really do. I think there's a different way of going about things. Kisner, I don't think it's enough credit. I think he's been I think they said like 7 out of the 15 shutouts we've had. So he's about almost 15% of the shutouts he's caught this year. And so I just think he goes, we've kind of said the same thing where like Carlos Martinez and Yachty over the last 2 years have not really I wouldn't have been surprised if the season kept going and Carlos stayed healthy if those two would have gotten into it. It just seemed like he pitched better. So I just kind of wonder if philosophically, they were, and with Ponce doing worse, I guess is what I would say, or struggling more than everybody else as they're taking off, if things just kind of came to blows and it was just they both had enough.
Yeah, and the same can be said like when somebody's doing well, and I know Lester always gives props to Yachty and Maddox in his post game interviews when he does well, that he's pitching kind of against how he normally would because he's really had to buy into the system and what they're saying and what they're trying to do, and it's took him a few starts to get acclimated. Maybe some guys like a Carlos or like Ponce de Leon, they're just hell bent on doing things their way, and it probably is hard to buy into a system if you're comfortable doing, a thing a certain way. But, at this point in the season, I think you do have to call guys out when every game matters. And, if you're not on the same page and I've seen it with other pitchers too, where, Yachty and Kisner, I think there is a different approach when each of them catches. But you do have to be on the same page because if not, that's when you're seeing balls get by Yachty that – he's expecting chest high heat and he's getting one in the dirt. You definitely got to be on the same page. And I know Larry's been, big on saying, especially with Kisner, that certain pitchers do pitch better under him. And I think some of that does have something to do with these minor leaguers coming up together with him and having a repertoire. And I think some has to do with Yachty just having that old school mindset. And I don't think, if Kisner caught Wainwright, I don't think you're going to get as good of an outing from Wainwright. I think just it's a comfortability type of thing.
Well, I think, even with Kisner, I think it's been, those guys, they grew up together, like you said. Now you kind of want to protect their back. You got their back, the whole time. So you're going to block that ball in the dirt if you have to. You're going to do whatever you have to do. But I think that with Yachty's lack of mobility, I think that it's essence that you have to be on the same page with him, because if you throw an inside fastball and he's set up on the outside and waiting on a curveball, things are going to get disastrous really quick. I mean, he's not that 20-some-year-old anymore that can move and react that fast anymore like he used to. And we really don't want him getting hurt because something stupid like that coming into the postseason, especially right now.
Well, we do have some breathing room. I mean, 5 games right now. I mean, how crucial is that when we're battling? I don't want them to let their foot off the gas coming up against the Cubs at all. But when you've got a 5-game lead right now, there is some breathing room. Heading into this series, I know you don't want to let your foot off the gas, like I said, but do you use this Cubs series to rest certain ball players, or do you ride this hot hand out? Duffy, what do you think? You think they give a couple guys a day off here and there throughout this series?
Well, I mean, we got these 2 games tomorrow, which are 14 innings. These half-ass double headers that we play now. I don't know. I think play the regular guys. Maybe probably the second game. Probably give some rest to the guys in the first game. It's the magic number 6. So I mean, 6 wins or Phillies lose. It's inevitable we're gonna get the wild card. I mean, I think you need to give some of the guys some rest to make sure they're ready, because it's probably gonna be. I actually kind of hope it's the Dodgers. I know everybody else was saying Giants, but I'd rather face the Dodgers in a 1-game playoff versus 5. So.
Yeah, and one thing about it too is like giving a guy a day of rest. You're also getting somebody like an Andrew Miller or like as bad as I hate to say Matt Carpenter, at least getting them stretched a little bit where they're not ice cold sitting over there on the bench. I think this would be a perfect time. I would start my starters tomorrow during game 1. Obviously, game 2, you're not going to have Yachty catch both games, so Kisner would catch. Maybe have DeYoung start one of those games just to get those guys some reps, because you are going to have to rely on the bench, and our bench is a big weak spot, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on how that pans out, Zach?
Yeah, we do have some weakness on our bench. I don't think, though, aside from game 2 tomorrow, I don't really think that we let our foot off the gas. And I'm going to be one of those optimistic people. I know 6 weeks ago, I was like, yeah, there's a real outside chance that we make it. I'm pretty sure we're going to miss, and I'll be one of those people to admit it. But this 3 games is going to be the hardest 3 games that Milwaukee ever has to win. They have the Mets, who are not a bad team. They're out of it, but they're not a bad team. And then they have us again at home. Good luck. And then they have the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are going to be shooting. So if the Mets don't win, or excuse me, if we go 3 out of 4 and the Brewers don't win 2 out of 3 against against them, then there's still an open window for us. I know it's a small snowball chance in hell that we actually win this division, but it's going to be the hardest 3 games that they have to win.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it is like very slim to none chance. But anything can happen. I mean, we didn't think we'd be in the position 5 games, having a playoff bid locked up a couple weeks ago either. But Duffy touched on this too. On if we do make the wild card, who would we prefer to play in that one game? And I'll go against the grain. Not that I'm scared of the Dodgers, but I just they're going to throw Scherzer in that game, and if I'm facing the Giants, and the Giants have some good pitching too, but I'm a little more scared of what the Dodgers would do in that one game than I would be the Giants. I think we handled our business fairly well against the Giants this season. Now, having said that, I think that could come back to bite us too, where we played them well, and this would be the game that they kick our ass. The Dodgers, we proved that we could hang with them, splitting the series. This last go round where we start the series down 2-0, you come back and win the last 2. But I'll go against the grain here and say I'd prefer the Giants in that one game playoff. Larry, I'm sure you disagree with me because you like to do that every now and then.
Every now and then, maybe once or twice. The reason I'd rather face the Dodgers are because they have to look past that one game. So if you throw Scherzer out there, he's done for game 1 and game 2. So now you're going to go down and you're going to face they still got Walker Buehler, and they still got this other guy that's been there, won a couple Cy Youngs. But
Furious as well.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that. So I think with the Cardinals, I mean, we could throw multiple arms in that game and come out better than they could. So that's the differences. And then like the Giants, I could see the differences there with facing the Giants. Their pitching staff is not as well honed as ours, I guess. They haven't been that experienced much that we have. But again, I would rather face the Dodgers in a one and done than I would a series. Because I think in a series, I think they send those 3 guys against us or those 4 guys against us more. So if you get the one and done, you could actually beat them because anything can happen in one game. I mean, anything. We know that. I would take my chances in the one game against the Dodgers.
Yeah, and the flip side of that too is if you play the Giants in a one-game playoff, then that means the Dodgers won their division, and that's where you're going to get more than just having to face Scherzer. You're going to get the whole damn 18 Cy Youngs that they've got on their pitching staff. But Duffy, I know you kind of prefer it to be the Dodgers. I know you've got some family ties that root for the Dodgers, and we like to give you a lot of shit about that. A one-game playoff, though, and I'm sure we can all agree we know who's going to get the ball for the Cardinals. I'm not saying I don't feel confident in Wainwright, but it's probably going to be Wainwright taking the hill because at this point, even if Flaherty does show he's healthy in these last maybe start or 2 that he might get before the season ends, I don't know that you feel comfortable totally. I think he's got better stuff at times than Wainwright, but you give the guy that's carried your pitching staff all year the ball in a one-game wild card. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to have, a short leash, very short leash, man. Everybody's available. Everybody's out in the bullpen. Jackson in the bullpen. Everybody's in the bullpen. Hopefully Hudson's in the bullpen. I mean, you just throw it all at them. It's an afternoon game in L.A. or in San Fran. I mean, there's going to be shadows to deal with. Bueno in that curveball in the shadows. I mean, he ain't Scherzer, but, man, I take my chances with Bueno. And, I mean, you got to go with Bueno there.
Yeah, I think it'd be a slap in the face if we didn't go to him because the guy really has carried this whole staff. Like you said, I think the shadows will play into it a little bit, but just having Wainwright that's been your ace, you have to hand him the ball in that situation. Zach, what do you think on who you prefer and why?
Yeah, I don't know. I keep my gut tells me the Dodgers, and maybe that's just because I just want to see Waino just stick it to them. But that's just what my gut says. We've had a really good history against them in the playoffs for the most part. Not so much San Francisco. I'm just a big history repeats itself kind of person, and I know any given day, any given team, but I don't know, for whatever reason, everything that says that, I mean, the Dodgers don't have, I mean, excuse me, the Giants don't have a bad team. I mean, they have a good team, obviously, but like on paper, you look at it, you're like, I mean, I don't look at that lineup and be like, wow, I would have thought they were going to, lead the division the whole year, not just, coming into it the whole year. They've led that. And so I think you look at that, it just, I don't know. Something tells me I'd rather play the Dodgers and get them out. One game is one game again than have to go against them in a series.
The one thing I will disagree with again, I would not start Waino. In game sevens or games that have mattered, Waino's lost. That's his history. I'm sorry. The only game that he's really come down to is the closing of the Mets out. If you go back in his history, because I looked at this a couple of months ago, because I was wondering this too, how many big games he actually pitched in. He's actually lost more big games than he's won. And so I would look at maybe doing a Flaherty, Hudson, and maybe a Lester or somebody like that. Maybe those three guys in succession.
I was thinking Lester.
And that's what I was thinking. Do a three guys and let them come in and pitch.
I don't know that. Sorry, go ahead, Larry.
And then you let Waino pitch game one against the Giants.
Yeah, I don't know that Jack is mature enough. He just hasn't done that well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's done that well at home in LA.
That's why I'd only let him go one inning. I'd let him be the opener. And that's what I would do. And I would throw the kitchen sink at him, man. They'd get a different pitcher every inning.
Yeah, you have to have all hands on deck, especially in that wild card. Now you can't burn everybody on the idea that, hey, if we win this game, we don't want our entire bullpen, taxed. But you do have to have, I think, a guy warming up or at least playing soft toss the entire game. I mean, you can't afford to be down 3 or 4 runs and then be like, okay, we're gonna try to get through this inning and then have somebody warming up. That's one of my biggest bugaboos about Schilt. But I know that you do manage different in the postseason than you do the regular season. So I think that you'd have to take a hard look at that and know that you can bring in Reyes early. You can bring in guys, like you said, you can start Lester, have Flaherty jump in, and still be able to have, Wainwright and Happ and others, start the series if we win that wild card.
Why don't we just make it a moot point and win the damn division? Just let's win every damn game, close it out.
Exactly.
Just make it easy on everybody.
It's like the movie Major League, just win
why not even if it did come down to one game, why not let Reyes start the game?
Man, I would be on board with it, but I mean, he's one to start next season.
I'm telling you.
He's one to start next season. I don't know if you go that route this season and be like, hey, you want to start? Here you go. Here's your shot.
Where's Hicks? Is he ready yet?
Yeah.
Well, the guy throwing 104, man. Let's start that game.
Matt Carpenter's got a pretty good ERA.
There you go.
He can say he contributed in some way.
Yeah, he'll make the roster as a pitcher. There we go.
Ephus pitch.
But no, this is an exciting time for us to be fans. I mean, we ride and die with the team anyway. If they were 5 games out right now, it's not like we're going to tune them out and not pay attention. But it is definitely a different vibe, honestly, even doing the show or just the way we interact with each other on social media, the demeanor that we have, there is an excitement level that us as fans, it's not just, well, shit, we lost, or had this guy come up, we knew. And we're not the Debbie Downers like some in the group are. We do try to find some silver linings and things. But it's exciting right now, and I couldn't ask for better baseball than what they've been playing lately. I don't think anybody could.
I want to make sure we clear the Cubs. I don't want them being the reason that we don't do something, because they're right now. I've always said one of my best friends. He's a Cubs fan. He grew up a Cubs fan, and I tease him all the time. I said, the Cubs have always built their teams to beat the Cardinals, not to win the World Series, just to beat the Cardinals. So let's shut them down there, shove 2016 up their wazoos and move on.
Dustin, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're excited just like we are. just talk about how exciting it is to know we've got some breathing room. And when you turn on a game, it's not like, shit, man, these guys aren't going to be able to throw the ball over home plate, and we've got a chance to win because these guys are actually hitting the ball. That's a good feeling. It's different when we all talk in the group chat, but it's definitely a good thing.
Oh yeah, it's exciting, especially my wife's a Cubs fan, so I'm telling her, Cardinals won 12 straight. And she's like, "You're acting like I care." Oh yeah, it's the Cubs. They traded away the whole team. So yeah, but don't underestimate those Cubs because that Frank Schwindel, he's a good player. They got some good young players on that team, and man, but I'd love to see us just sweep them 4 games. Let's get the Phillies. I think the Phillies are the second, right? Let's get the Phillies to lose a couple over the weekend and just clinch it and go home and maybe win out and hell, maybe win the division.
Yeah, I'd be on board with that. Zach, I'll shoot this thought to you. I know Larry put a post out in the group earlier about Nolan Arenado and how is he really wanting to opt out now that the Cardinals are doing well? There was a lot of fans that he's going to be crazy not to opt out. At this point, yeah, it's a lot better situation than what Colorado was, but I don't think he was going anywhere anyway. But to be a part of this resurgence where there's some excitement level, and again with the 2011 team coming back and the celebration there, and fans just embracing him the way they have, I don't think there's any doubt that he's not just coming back. He's not going to opt out, but that he's here for the long haul. I think he's fell in love with the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I always said if he was going to opt out, it would be a maybe next year if we didn't make the playoffs this year and we didn't make the playoffs next year. That'd be the only way he'd do it because you get one taste. And again, hopefully he gets it in St. Louis this year. I do think we'll be a totally even better team next year. But if you just get one taste of the playoffs in St. Louis, you don't leave. Unless you're Hayward or somebody like that who's just going to chase some money, but you don't. So, the fact that you have a player like him who's going to be one of the all-time greatest third basemen, barring any injury. He already is, but yeah, he's not leaving. He's not going anywhere. I think he actually probably retires a Cardinal.
Yeah, and I had that thought, and on last week's show, me and Larry talked about it, that there are a couple current Cardinals that have talked about wanting to play again next year, and one of those is being John Lester that talks, like he's kind of wanting to pitch again. I don't want that to be the big move the Cardinals do to address pitching, go out and bring him back. But having said that, there are the options of Reyes moving to a starting role, Hudson's looking for a spot. We're probably parting ways with Carlos and KK, but there's a need, I think, for the Cardinals to still go out and get a top tier pitcher. If they do that, I don't see a fit for Lester, but if they bring Lester in and have Wainwright back, I don't really see that they go out and make a big splash on getting. Where are you going to have a 6-man rotation? I don't think it's going to happen. Well, Larry, what are your thoughts on Lester's chances of being brought back as a Cardinal next season?
I think if he did incentive contracts sort of like what Waino took last year and this year, I could see Lester coming back because he could be contributing the bullpen. He could be that long relief guy. He could do a lot of stuff. Plus, not only that, but we thought coming into this season we had more pitching than we knew what to do with, and injuries come in and hit us hard. So I could see actually them signing him to a smaller deal. I don't see Hap. I'm not really. I'm not sold on either way, I guess. But I was just thinking, if we beat Scherzer, is he looking maybe if they did offer him a contract to come to St. Louis then? If he goes out there with that team and loses, who knows? But again, we don't know because Mozeliak, we know the one thing he's going to do is instead of going out and getting a free agent, he's looking to trade somebody. He's going to look for a deal someplace where he can get somebody. So who's that pitcher out there on the team that's not successful, that's just eating up space on a bench someplace, say like a guy in Minnesota, maybe, I don't know. There's guys out there that are available that you may be able to switch and get a player here or there, or maybe Colorado's looking to deal one of their guys, in the offseason, because if they lose Story on top of already losing Arenado, a number one starter is not really going to do them a whole lot of good. So there's a lot of options out there. But yeah, I would sign Lester. I'd sign him right now.
Yeah, I don't argue with any of that, except I don't think Colorado ever deals with us ever again. But that's just a personal opinion. But when we did talk coming into the season, that you had guys that we thought Oviedo would step up and do more than what he did, and he kind of faltered. Now Woodford, on the other hand, has come in and really been a key for this team. At the tail end here. But when you have guys like that, and you have your Reyes that wants to be a starter, and I think Genesis Cabrera is destined to be a starter one day too. We forget that these guys are like 22, 23 years old on some of these guys. And I agree that injuries happen, and Lester would be a good fit on having some sort of insurance policy, but I don't know that he wants to be a bullpen. And if you have him, maybe he is that guy that starts the game and gives you 3 solid, 4 solid. He's kind of like an opener, an aging opener. I don't know if that's the route they go, but we've talked about it in the past that what this team does this offseason will determine a lot. And Mo does like to go via the trade a lot, but the only trade pieces I think that they have right now that they're willing to part with, obviously DeYoung, Kisner might be the two that would bring you, somebody that are expendable. But I see this team with the money coming off the books. I think it's really going to be free agency is how Mo's going to handle it, because you've got Carpenter, who is the other player wanting to come back for another year, and I don't think there's any chance in hell that the Cardinals can justify even an invite to spring training. I think would be an insult to fans, and that's just my opinion. But what say you on that, Debbie?
I see Carpenter going to the Texas Rangers next year. He will not be in St. Louis. He'll be back home, probably where he wants to be with his family, and I mean, I'd like Mo to go to Miami and get a guy named Sandy back, they traded away all those years ago. I mean, that dude is a stud. I mean, legit stud, and he's what, 24, 25 years old? I mean, let's not get into the talks of bad trades, but there's a lot of young arms out there that, I mean, I know he's not a free agent, but hey, we got some guys we could trade and get some value out of now.
Yeah, I go along with that. I joke with Larry all the time. I think that Carpenter's best bet is he gets a minor league invite from the Royals, and maybe Matheny gets a hard on a feel-good story on, hey, we'll give you a chance. But there is no chance, a 0% chance that we can bring Carpenter back. I mean, there's just not. Even with the DH supposedly coming to the National League next year, and we could discuss and debate on who we think takes that spot too. But yeah, Carpenter, it's this farewell tour for him. I'd like to see the Cardinals go ahead and win it this year, but Carpenter, we're gonna have to bid him a farewell regardless.
He'll be a Cub next year. He'll be in the Cubs. He hits so well at Wrigley, they'd be dumb not to at least give him an invite. I mean, he hits the ball extremely well at Wrigley, so why wouldn't they?
Well, because they've already got a former Cardinal third baseman and Patrick Wisdom that's a 30-year-old rookie that's tearing off the ball.
Play second base.
Yeah, but we're going to have the DH. We're going to have the DH. It's not going to matter.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But there is a key word in designated hitter. You actually have to be a hitter. And I don't think Matt Carpenter fits that description anymore.
Just put him out there when the wind's blowing. He can just stick his bat out. And there you go.
It's wild. But no, I mean, I don't want to take over the whole show with just kind of throwing out topics, but I mean, is there stuff you guys want to discuss? Not necessarily final thoughts on the week that was, and actually this whole 12-game win streak. Is there anything you guys want to wrap it up talking about?
I've never seen this kind of stretch of baseball in my life. 1982 is the last time they won 12 in a row. So
and look what happened.
Yeah, look what happened.
Came down to playing the Brewers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Brewers are done. I think we've talked about it too. They fizzle out every time this year. I mean, they do got some just studs in that bullpen and that rotation. I mean, they talked about it earlier how they're doing things with their pitchers at the lower level that no other team is really doing. They call it like a pitching academy. I remember one game they were talking about that, and all the things they're doing. I think we could really take something from that. A lot of teams could, but I think again for whatever reason they're fizzling out, and this series, I mean, 4 games, losing 4 games, is a big blow, no matter when you do it. Doing it to the same team in convincing fashion. I mean, today, yeah, they got out, but they gave up 7, unanswered runs. I just think they're running out of gas, and I think they're going to go into it. Maybe they win the division, but they're going to limp in.
I always say with sabermetrics, they're great during the regular season, but when it's on the line, you got to throw it out. It becomes heart, it becomes IQ, baseball IQ. And those guys today, I even mentioned to you guys during the game. I said every time that the announcers would say how great their relief pitchers were, they'd walk somebody. And so that was when the pressure was on. And I've said that when I did I had the Brewers for the preseason analysis for this group. And I said, the Brewers fold under pressure. They have done it time and time again over the course of the year. Craig Counsell is an awesome manager when it comes to the X's and O's of a game in a regular season game, but I think he can only do so much maneuvering with those players, and that's it. And you've got Yelich over there. I mean, he got that big payday. The injuries have happened. He's not the player he was. I'm sorry, he's just not. And I mean, like the kid Taylor today that hit the home runs, that was a fluke. I mean, that kid off the bench, that was not his norm. So they got 5 runs from a kid that they normally wouldn't get. And would he even make the roster coming into postseason? I don't know. So, and then you got, I mean, when, what's his name? Their pinch hitter came up tonight. I'm thinking he looked like a beer league Volderback or whatever his name is. He looks like a freaking beer league softball player, man. I'm thinking I've got a job next year. I'm smaller than he is, but I don't know. Like I said, I think the Cardinals, I mean, they walk like baseball players. They talk like baseball players. They act like baseball players. And I think that's made a big difference in this last 12 games.
Well, I think it messes with team psyche, too, that the Cardinals have, they're obviously a team that's always in contention. I don't think any team, when they come to play against us, they're thinking this is an easy team. I mean, even when we're playing a bad stretch of baseball, they know they got to bring their A game to compete with us. But when you're playing a team like the Padres, that totally, the wheels came off. I mean, the Padres were faltering anyway, but it was like we gutted them. It was kind of like they have no shot in their confidence level at all. I think this is what did it for the Brewers too. I think we knocked them down such a peg with this sweep that I don't think they rebound from it. They might pick up a win or two the rest of the season, but I think this really hits hard for them.
So do you think that the taking of the glove is going to come into – they're going to start – that's going to make the headlines and everything when they took the pitcher's glove today? Do you think that really is, got into his psyche or whatever you want to say? But
well, not that per se, but just us kicking their ass, for the series. But yeah, I mean that might play into it a little bit too. But just these teams that are on the bubble, where it's like the Reds – we're kind of, I'm not going to say gloating, but when you have Joey Votto that kind of runs his mouth a little bit, Castellanos had run his mouth, earlier in the season on things. And it's like, shit, here come the Cardinals, and then we go in, we take care of the Mets, and then you come in and the Padres, it was like, they have a damn tough team. We'd be ignorant to think that the Padres don't have a stacked team. And we go in and it's like, we just suck the air out of, there's no life left in them. And again, with the Brewers, they're coasting right now. Yeah, they know they have the division pretty well locked up. But to go in, they did not want to lose this series, let alone get swept. And to get done in Milwaukee, I think, is a blow to them, especially with the teams that they have coming up.
Oh yeah, they wanted to clinch. They wanted to clinch on this 4-game series. There's no doubt about it. And Yelich buying those tickets and stuff. I mean. I think you expose them. I really do. I think you expose their offense. Their offense is very abysmal right now. Yelich looks horrible. I mean, they had one good start from the starting pitchers, I think, in the 4-game series that we won 2-1. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I think they're done. They'll lose first round.
Zach, any final thoughts from you on? I mean, I'm sure next week we'll hop back on here and be talking about the Cardinals have clinched their wild card spot, but just final thoughts on the way everything has went down and the show in general here.
Man, it's exciting. I'm glad we're playing meaningful baseball in September. Looking like it's going to be another red October, and all it takes is a chip and a chair. You get in, anything can happen.
Love the poker reference.
Larry, you got any final words you want to share with the loyal fan base that tunes in and listens to our gab all hour long here?
The one thing I will say is that, as this season's progressed, our group of people that have followed us has grown a lot. I mean, it's really Chris and I watch the numbers for us as podcasters, and just doing this for the fun of the game because we enjoy it. We always say, we're no experts; it's our opinions. But everybody tunes in and they listen and they give comments back, and it's been pretty positive. And I've really enjoyed it this year. And I look for a lot more of these even after the season's over and we won the World Series. I still look for a lot more of these. And to have Zach and Dustin both come on with us, that was great tonight as well. We always like to having the other moderators and admins from the group come on. So yeah, I've enjoyed this season so far. The Cardiac kids are here. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, I've got to go off what you said. I really appreciate everybody that tunes into these shows, and they leave us some pretty positive feedback on, even things that we can do better on, and we take from that and try to make the show at least enjoyable. We're not experts. We play one on TV. We have fun whether Jared's joining us. We do miss him and hope we get him back on a show. Mr. Brad Kell had been on a couple episodes. Hopefully we can get him back on one. Matt has only been on one, but we're glad to have Dustin finally on, his first show with us. Now if we can only get that guy Boyd Harder to join us, the guy that kind of pops in every once in a while, but it would be nice if we could all kind of hop on here sometime, and we appreciate everybody that tunes in and lets us just talk Cardinal baseball.
Before I get Chris, we do want to express our condolences to Jared and his family during this time and everything going on. We know he's pretty private and all, but we're right there with you, brother, and we appreciate you, man.
Definitely second that. On that note, again, appreciate Zach taking the time to join us. Duffy, glad you took the time to join us. Larry, as always, it's a pleasure.
Brothers, man.
Brothers, yep. So, guys, appreciate everybody that's tuned in, and appreciate all you guys for joining us. We'll,
have a good night.
Go Cardinals.
Cards. Go Cards, baby. 2021 World Series champs.